Hello, everyone. Hi.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. It's 6 p.m.
Welcome to International Women's Day, presented by Brunel Digital. Let's first introduce the host. I am Nayli, and we have Mathilde here as your host for today. We're both undergraduates from Brunel Design School. So as you all know, this is a completely different setup from previous years. Well, previously with International Women's Day, we had a talk where we're all like under the same roof, but nevertheless, this year is different, but we still have one this year on Zoom. So we have more than 5 amazing creatives today from the industry, where they'll join us to look into our student showcase. We also have a panel discussion with them and a chance for the audience to ask questions at the end. So please make sure to kindly turn your mics off for now to smoothen the flow of the convo, and feel free to ask questions at the end. So this year we have Kristen Justat, who is the UX UI lead at TUI Travel. Hello. We have Jackie Singh, Group Accounts Director at MechLabs Dev. We have Kate Smith, Social Media Manager at Sketch.
Hello, hi there.
Hi. We have Rachel Brockbank, Illustrator and Motion Designer at Sosure. We have Samantha Fairbrother, Senior Packaging Designer at PNW. And we have Vaishnavi Sahu, a graphic designer. So maybe you can each briefly introduce yourself.
Okay, I'll start. My name is Jackie Singh, and I have worked in the creative industry since over 25 years now. I've worked overseas with integrated agencies where we had every kind of media offering on the table, with very large teams where we did graphic design as well as copy, and brand campaigns on all sorts of brands, FMCG, B2B, and the like. And then in England, most specifically, Magnus Harlequin produces media and production assets. And we work with a lot of multinationals like LG Electronics, Samsung, Hisense, Tesco, John Lewis, you name it. So we've got a very full portfolio. And the touch points are across the entire gamut, including digital. And I have a group of accounts that I manage. Sorry, that's quite a mouthful.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. That's what we're here to hear about. So maybe Emma Kingsnorth, feel free to introduce yourself. Tell us what you're all about. Just very quick.
Sorry, Matilda, Emma couldn't make it today.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm reading off the wrong list. A sincere apology.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. Anyone?
I'm
Hi,
Kristen.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. How's everybody? Good? Thumbs up? Yes? Good. Yes, I'm Kristen Biosted. I currently am the design direction lead at TUI, which is, in case you didn't know it, it used to be Thomson Travel, but now it's TUI. It's a big pan-European travel agency, retailer, online travel agency, whatever it is in the way of travel, TUI does it. Anyway, I head up the UK design team, and that's a multidisciplinary team that works across all channels and platforms of output. So anything that the customer comes in contact with, whether it be a brochure, a retail shop, the website, social media, you name it, we do it in my team. And that's me in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Samantha, hi.
Hi. So my name's Sam. I'm a senior graphic designer for a branding and packaging agency in Baker Street, Marylebone sort of area of London. And we're relatively small. There's only about 15 of us in total, but we're kind of like small but mighty. We work all over the world, different clients. Our kind of bread and butter clients are Tesco's and Ferrero. So we work a lot on Kinder Surprise and Tic Tac and Nutella, all those kind of brands. I've been in the industry for 13 years now, which is mental. And I graduated from UCA University in graphic communications.
Awesome. It's very good to hear from you, Sam. Hi, Vaishnavi.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Vaishnavi Sahu. I'm a recent graduate of Brunel University from Digital Design and Branding. And before that, I have worked as a graphic designer. And recently, I'm struggling to find a good job. Though I have worked, I'm working as a freelancer. And the good project I've done recently is with Ogilvy India. And yeah, that's all of my accomplishment. Thank you.
Thank you for being here and for talking with us.
Awesome to have you here. Hi, Rachel. Next.
Hello, hi everyone. Yeah, I'm Rachel. I graduated in 2018 from Brunel. I studied VFX and motion graphics. And since then, I was a digital designer for a couple of years doing kind of web UI UX focused stuff. But basically decided I wanted to go back to my creative roots. So now I'm working as a marketing designer for an insurance startup called Social. So I do all of their social media and their paid ads and all of the various things that are needed there. Yeah.
It's good to have you back. Lastly, we have Katie.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Katie. I am a social media principal at Sketch, which I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar with if you are a designer. So I joined in April of last year, and kind of prior to that, I mean, there wasn't really much in terms of a social media team. So I've kind of been heading that up at the moment and trying to build more of a social media presence for Sketch, and so building something that would appeal to an audience of designers. So it's a good challenge, but yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. Previously been working freelance and in agencies, and now gone in-house.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming and for being here with us. We will now very quickly hear from our students. We have a student showcase that we think you'll really enjoy. We have two, three-year students. We have Francesca and Zeel with us. We have two year 2 students, Nilaya and Kdrat. And we have one first-year student, Camille. So Francesca, feel free to share your screen, take it away, tell us what you're all about.
Sure. Hi
Maybe
everyone.
Tell us a bit about yourself, yeah.
Yeah, hi everyone. So yeah, I'm Francesca. I'm a final year digital design student. And this evening I'm gonna talk to you about a project I've been working on for the last couple of months. So I'm gonna share my screen. Just bear with me. Oh, I can't see nothing. Right. It's a bit tricky. Can everyone see this?
Yes, yes, it's perfect.
All right. So yeah, I decided to go for a 360 marketing campaign called Make Your Own Photo. So as some of you might be aware, for our last year, we are required to produce a final year project that can cover any type of subject. Personally, I decided to go for like a fusion of all the interests that I have in design, which is a bit of branding, packaging, advertisement, and UI UX design. So I just thought, let's do a 360 marketing campaign for it. So I'm going to break my presentation here into 5 sections. I will talk about my rationale, so how I came up with the idea, what are my aims, objectives, and deliverables, a bit of research, concept, and brand identity, and the design process and the artifacts, and what's coming next. So the idea was like, I would like to raise awareness and improve the trends of unhealthful food often chosen in takeaway meals among young adults. So let's be honest, we all know that when we're young, we don't want to cook. We just want to get a burger when we, I don't know, when we take delivery, Uber Eats, we just want to have a burger instead of salads. So I was like, all right, let's find a solution there. So what about Vietnamese food? Because Vietnamese food can be a combination between healthy aspects and a new taste experience to the UK. So my aim was through the creation of a new distinct food brand and a new type of service. I aim to encourage anyone using food delivery apps to eat healthily. So for this, I had to kind of research, analyze, in order to create a brand that would be suitable for this. So I wanted to create the brand identity of the concept, the packaging of the product, a mobile application, and some advertisement for social media. So I had to really look into the research everything about Vietnamese culture. So some of you might know the pho. It's a national dish. It's the national dish of Vietnam. It's a dish made of rice noodles, beef broth, and a bit of aromatic herbs, and it just creates, like, honestly, an amazing dish. I would literally say to you guys, now the lockdown is gonna be finished, go and try, because it's amazing, honestly. I recommend it. And so yeah, so I've done some research, and actually I did a bit of marketing research, but also Vietnam, and this is how my name for my concept came up. So in Vietnamese culture, there is 4 holy animals. So the 4 holy animals is like, there is the unicorn, for example, or the dragon, or the turtle, and the phoenix, right? It's 4 holy animals. And when I realized that phoenix, in the word phoenix, there was the word pho, I was like, I have something here. So I wanted to create a customer experience like no other. Where it would be, the customer will have the possibility to create their own pho through a cooking box that would be like a pho box. All the ingredients and utensils would be contained in the packaging. So there will be different sizes depending on the portion of the person. If he's really hungry, well, let's go for M, L, or XL as well, or something small. It will be either collected in store or delivered to your door. And it will be as well accessible through a mobile application where you would have some discounts, for example. So it would give some advantages. So here's a little video, really small video, just to show the branding. I really wanted to go for like a simple color palette. I wanted to give it like a bit of authenticity, maybe with the brown and the color of the broth, kind of reminds the soup, and a decorative font. And I also had to think about like the values of my project, which are playful, quality, and green. I honestly want to show that pho can combine so many things. It can be so fun and easy to create a pho. You can easily create a memory from it. It could also be, I want something that is authentic. I wish I try that my branding kind of show this value of like quality. I want to feel like the customer can rely on us, and the green aspect for like eco-friendly. I want to show that packaging can be as well, can respect the environment. So I'm looking into packaging. So here is the design process. Usually I go for, which I start always with mood boards, then some sketches, because I usually forget my ideas if I don't put them into paper, honestly. And then I do some experimentation, and I finalize everything. And most of the time I usually use application like Adobe Suite and also Sketch. So here are some artifacts that I've done. This is not the final project, but this is just prototypes to give an idea of how it could look like for the faux box and the accessories. And here are an app that I made using Sketch as well. And I did like, I don't know if you can see, yeah. So here just an example of like what I've done. I wanted to start at the beginning of my application, explaining what's the concept and what's about before that the user starts the experience in the app. The person will have access to the menu in the app. He can also have the reviews, see the reviews, what people said about it. They can add it to their cart, choose how many they want, the size, if they want the service either be delivery or click and collect. So I just go through, there will be payment methods, different type of payments. All of this, it's been through my research because I've done a survey, around 30 people answered to me for the survey about like what are the main things they want to see in the delivery app, food delivery app. So I try to combine all of this. Oops. I'm going to share my screen that you just left. And yeah, and what's next is like, I would like to bring some motion into my designs. Yeah, I'm looking into motion right now. I'm trying to, I want to kind of make my post a bit more alive and look about like packaging, merchandise, and how to make it eco-friendly. So I'm still in the process of finishing my project for the degree show at the end of the year. So if everybody, there is other projects of like many students as well. So I invite as well for the degree show to come. You guys will see a lot more in the social, Brunel digital. We will say it. Yeah, it will be amazing, honestly.
Thank you so much, Francesca.
Yeah,
We'll
sorry.
definitely be looking forward to your project in the in the show. Don't worry about it. All right, so that was Francesca's project. I hope everybody enjoyed that. Now we're gonna go on to Zeel.
Hi guys. So
Hi.
how is everyone? How's everyone's evening going?
We're doing great. Feel free to take the stage, share your screen, tell us
Amazing.
everything, Zeel.
Just bear with me 1 second whilst I share my screen. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Amazing. So hi, I'm Zeel. I'm a UX UI designer, and I'm going to be taking you through a little bit about me. So I am really into branding, UX UI design, and a little bit of motion graphics, not too much, just a little bit. And I'm going to be taking you through basically a few of the projects I'm currently working on. So the first one is called Hover. And as you can tell by the animation, it's basically an app that allows you to get your food delivery received through a drone. So it explores foods near you. It's a very secure app. It helps you save money, great deals every day. And we aim to deliver your food within the next 10 to 15 minutes. And it also explores aspects of augmented reality. So I started off with my initial sketches. So when I do my initial sketches, I basically sketch out all the ideas I have, explore which ones I think look good, which ones I think maybe not this one, and go for the one that I like the best. So out of all the sketches that I've done over here on Procreate, I liked the one right at the bottom, the one that I'm drawing right now, and I digitalize it. So once that's digitalized, it looks like the one on the left, which is the final logo. And then I create different variations of it to use in different social medias and other mediums as well. And then for this assignment, we have to do a marketing campaign. So I like to focus on inbound marketing, outbound marketing, and also experiential marketing. So one of the ideas that I had for the experiential marketing was to have a huge drone sort of display in the sky, and users can scan the drones in the sky, which will make up a QR code, and that will basically redirect them to download the app and tell them what it's all about. So that way we're kind of, you know, directing it to everyone who has the view of the sky. And then we have the 360 marketing campaign, like I said. So inbound marketing is there. So social media, websites, word of mouth, online videos, ebooks, and outbound is broadcast, print, and emails, and TV commercials. The next project I'm going to talk to you about is Vital Health. This is my final year project, and it's basically a health app. In today's climate, I think it's really important that we all focus on our health and make sure everyone's doing okay. So I thought this was a good area to explore. It helps you manage your health. It has 24/7 video consultations, allowing you to monitor and track with personalized health reports, and you can connect your wearables. So if you have like an Apple Watch, you can connect that and you'll be able to see all your health records on there. And it also has aspects of mixed reality within it. So in order to do this first, I create a digital branding book, which explores the different design variations I would be using within it. So color palettes, photography, iconography, things like that. So here's just an overview of it. I like to go really deep into doing the brand personality as well, because I feel like if you don't have that set in stone, you're going to struggle afterwards. So I think that's good. So here are some of the design principles, the logo rules, the color usage, photography, illustrations, brand color. And then as I really do like UX UI, I focus one part of my branding, especially for mobile design. So I've created a grid system. I designed the buttons, the thumb zone design systems, the user interface elements, and iOS widgets as well. And here is the final product. So here we have my final screens for the Vital project. And I also did a desktop version as well. And that's that. Okay, and that's pretty much me. So if you guys want to contact me or get in touch with me, please feel free. If you have any questions, you can tell me now, or you can just send me a DM on Instagram or Behance or LinkedIn, anything. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Zeel. That was amazing. It's truly incredible. If you do have any questions or you do want to get contact with Zeel, go ahead and just pop a message on our Instagram DMs. We'll go on to our second years now, and Nilaya. Hello, I see you there. Feel free to start whenever.
Oh, okay. Let me just share my screen, sorry.
No problem, no problem.
It always makes me a little bit nervous.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, can you see that? Let me
Yes.
full screen that. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. So I'm a second year right now, and I think it's fair to say that like we are still trying to figure out where we kind of want to go in the creative industry since it's so vast. So that's basically been my aim this entire year, where I like set out to basically try and gain experience in the actual industry before like sticking my foot down in like, let's say, marketing, branding, packaging. And I think I've been fortunate enough to basically secure 2 internships this year. And from that, I was able to basically just have fun with like more briefs and like experience like the industry in more of a professional setting, as opposed to like your friend's friend asking you for a logo. So I think it's fair to say that I first started off my entire design journey in GCSE, the GCSE products. This was a bit of a Tumblr phase. That's why the logo's so thin fonts, scripty writing and stuff. But
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I don't know if we're still stuck on the same screen. Maybe it's not working in full screen. Maybe
that's
just
probably it. Okay,
get out
sorry.
of full screen.
2 seconds.
No problem, no problem.
Take your time, it's all right.
Yeah. We all struggled with this at some point. That's come on.
It's always the one time it matters that it always messes up.
It's always the one time it matters. It really is. I think PDFs have a bit of a problem with full screen. It might be that.
Okay, I think this we'll just have to do. Let me reshare that. Is that okay?
Yes.
I'll
we
sorry
can
about
see
the
it.
border and stuff now. But
Yes.
yeah, no, GCSE graphics products. This is where it like started off, where I accidentally picked the subject without my parents knowing, and it was the first time I like just got to play with color, because like with art, you like create stuff, but at the end of the day, it's like your own opinion. But this time, it was like the first time I was able to create something for myself as well as other people to see. So it kind of just like gave me the bug, and I was like, you know what, this is what I want to go into. So from there, I was able to basically secure placements wherever I could. Had a little stint at WH Smith, which was fun. But I think this year I really got to like go in and like freelance, as well as just like play with fonts and stuff, agencies and stuff. So these are some of the logos I worked on, where I was able to work with some independent clients for a number of reasons. So one was for a bakery. A friend was trying to come up with like a kind of golden rolls kind of bakery, where she wanted to start off online but expand. Unfortunately, COVID got in the middle of that. But there were other ones where basically I just got to play with logos with a range of target audiences, which is not something you tend to be able to do in uni itself, because it tends to be very broad, like people from 30 to 40, whereas like Wasteland was a waist trainer company that's like hopefully going to launch soon, hopefully. And then for them, I was able to focus on like demographics, where I was able to explore trends that are more based towards like women in like 20s to 40s. So I think it just gave me like a lot of experience when it came to having different audiences, which is like a nice change. And one of my favorite projects that I've been able to work on was actually the project that got me one of my internships, where I was simply just given a simple brief to create 2 or more design options for a organic company that provides honey and jam in a sustainable way. And the only kind of brief I got was luxury French product, which I would say is very broad, and use of the logo are. And since this was like whether or not I get the internship, I definitely went a bit overboard. So I first of all looked at competitors. Obviously, you need to know where you stand in the market. And I found that loads of them would use honey bees as an icon, but never actually incorporate it into a whole aesthetic, which is something I was like, oh, maybe I could play around with this and like kind of revamp it in a way people haven't seen before. So the R, this is a fraction of the amount of R's I drew like over a course of a week, because I just wanted to get it right and like have like a luxury feel where it didn't feel like it was doing too much, but also had like kind of a Parisian vibe, if you know what I mean, where there are like clean lines and organic lines. And so like I just continued playing around with this. As we all know, font extremely important. So I was very on the fence about going sans serif or serif, and there you can see me kind of like figuring out what works best. And I ended up going for sans serif just because it felt a lot more modern, which is something in later discussions with the client they mentioned they wanted. So this was the final logo, and I also tried to play with it on different backgrounds. Black and white tends to be the easiest option, so I stuck with that. But I also thought on top of a coloured background, it stood out a lot more, which is different to competitors from like what I saw. So typography, slick. I thought for this, because it was on packaging, which was kind of new to like what I was designing, I didn't want to do too much with having like 3 different typography families. So I stuck with a simple font, but I made sure it had like a nice weight to it when it needed one. And so I got on to basically deciding what kind of ranges I wanted to create, because The only problem with this client was that they weren't the best at replying to emails. So it was kind of like, here's the deadline, maybe 2 emails in between. And even then it wasn't 100% clear. So I was like, I've kind of just got to stick with what I think is right and design what I think will work. So I decided to do 2 ranges after looking at mood boards and like kind of deciding the path to go down. And I chose one to be like a traditional range because I think last year hand drawn like kind of more watercolor stuff was like quite on trend. So I decided to kind of focus on that for one range where watercolor would like kind of add a depth to it without overpowering anything on the packaging because it was so small. So these were the ideas. One thing that I did really try to commit to was giving the sticker itself that would be decaled onto a jar, kind of like its own shape, like not just going for like a simple like cylindrical kind of. So yeah, this was like the first traditional range honey, and I think I just wanted to keep it kind of loose and open, but also make the identity very clear. So I like dedicated half of the sticker itself to the logo, because at the end of the day, that's what people are gonna like recognize. So I was able to do the same thing for the raspberry and kind of keep a similar kind of theme going on. And then I had the digital range, and I think like from what you're going to see, this was clearly my favorite because it was also the time where people were like, let's be honest, iPads became a big thing. So everyone was just like creating like digital drawings all the time, and I thought like this was a great opportunity to like kind of bring in more vibrant, bold colors into a market that was like traditionally quite muted. So these were the ideas I came up with, where I was able to play with the honeycomb kind of aesthetic, and I was able to create these as my final products. I think they liked it because in the end, this was what they ended up going for, and I ended up creating a few more products for the range, which I can't show, unfortunately. But it also got me the internship, so kind of happy with that. And then from what I learned from this, I was able to apply it to my own project. So 5 O'Clock Club was a men's shaving range I created during my A-levels. And from the experience I gathered from this, I was able to go back and kind of revamp it and give it more of a modern touch. And I think that just shows that like, even though you're continuing on in your career, you can still go back on old projects and like kind of revamp them and give them a new aesthetic again, because like brands rebrand all the time. There's no reason for you to just leave your own work behind. So I think that's something I've like continued to take on from this experience. And I think it's fair to say branding and packaging is something I do enjoy working with as opposed to traditional print design. Yeah. That's
Thank
me.
you so much. Those designs look wonderful, truly. I definitely pick them up if I saw them in the supermarket. I
Thank
would,
you.
and I think everybody else would as well. So, as well from the second year now, we have Kudrat.
Yeah.
Yeah, more 3D side.
Let me share my
Hello.
screen. Hello. So can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you perfectly. Share your screen. Just do
So
your thing.
I'm a visual effects and motion graphics student, so I mainly focus on 3D. So I decided to do a couple of personal projects where I just took pictures I was inspired from concept art, and then made them in 3D. For example, I saw this picture of a convenience store and I really liked the moody aspect of it. And I saw this other picture of a gas station pump and I really liked the way the fog added to it. So then I used 3D to like create that in Maya, which is the 3D software, as you can see here. But then after I did that, I wanted to add more to it. So then I went back and I saw pixel art, which is a type of art where, as you can see, they make it from pixels. So then I went back and remade the whole scene that I made in pixels. And you can see my video about that here. So that is essentially one project that I worked on. And another project I worked on was inspired by this picture, which is the Avila Tower, which is in Serbia. But I really like the moody aspect of the way the fog looks on the building. So I wanted to create that, and then I created that. But then I thought I wanted to add more to it, so I decided to mix up with motion graphics and add a bunch of effects to the scene to make it look. Quite, I don't know, animated, like an animated action scene, even though it's just the same building. So again, in 3D, I tried to make variations, and then you can see that final one here. Yeah, those are essentially my projects.
Fantastic work. I thought that gas station was real. I was surprised when you showed your work. Fantastic job. And now from first year, we have Camille.
Hi.
Hi, Camille. Feel free to.
It's me
as well.
already. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun, huh? All right. Oh, sorry. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. So hi everyone. I am a first year at Brunel. I am Camille, and yeah, I'm from Lithuania, and I'm really grateful to be here today. So okay, it's not, oh, sorry. Oh my God. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
It's lagging a lot. Okay, never mind. Yeah, so I'm going to show quite a few things. So how it all started. So it all started with me taking pics of my friends and my sister mostly, because I really love colorful things and I don't know, capturing emotions. And I don't know, it's quite beneficial because my friends can change their profile pictures. So I think it's quite fun for them and for me. And then I got an opportunity to shoot some events at my school. And I studied at a film academy for a few years. So I also got an opportunity to be on a film set, not for one and not for two times. I'm really glad for that. And and then in my high school, I got a project to do. It was for an event which never actually happened. I don't know why, but those were my first posters, and I'm still kind of proud actually because it was my first project working with in Photoshop, and I mean you can see a little flaws, but never mind. And then I received an email from Brunel that I can study in that wonderful university, and I got an assignment to research a job role, and and I started to work with Illustrator because I needed to make my work and my assignments, aesthetically pleasing. So, and I fell in love with Illustrator actually, and now I work only with it, but with Photoshop sometimes and InDesign. But I tried to do like a magazine style, and this is quite funny. I actually made this in a workshop yesterday, but I just wanted to, say that I love putting things on a physical objects, like boxes or I don't know, shirts, stuff like that.
because it looks so much better when it's on something. And yeah, I just wanted to show that. And I love working with logos. It's quite hard, not gonna lie. I mean, I'm a first year, so I don't know a lot. I'm still learning, and yeah, but making logos in a free time is a really great way to, practice and get those skills. And yeah, okay. We're coming to the end. Don't worry. Yeah, my dream is kind of to work with artists because I don't know, I love music, and I listen to music all the time when I'm working. Yeah, and I made this. It's not a logo, I know, illustration for one of my friends for his YouTube channel, so he could put it as a banner. Yeah, and as I said, I love making merchandise and putting uh, illustrations on physical objects. And yeah, I made this hoodie for a music band that I listen to a lot because I just wanted to make a hoodie for them. I mean, they don't even know I exist, but I just thought it would be fun because I really like their music, and I try to, uh, make my dreams come to reality. Not my dreams, but my visions. Yeah, and the last part is a vinyl I made for my friend also because I'm a first year, I don't work anywhere. Yeah, and it's one of my favorite works actually because it really represents her style. And as you can see, I included some blue colors because I love blue. Actually, you can see it in a lot of my works. Uh, it's one of the most popular colors, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I just really enjoy making something for creative people like, artists. And yeah. Yeah, it's finally over. You can find me on my socials because I really love my Instagram feed, and I try to make it as fun and aesthetically pleasing as possible. And don't be shy to write a message for me because I always respond. And happy International Women's Day. That's it.
Thank you so much, Camille.
You're welcome.
No need to be modest. You already have a fan in the chat. You already have someone ready to buy the hoodie. So also, feel free to actually go and check out Camille's Instagram as well. Check out all of the students' works that I've presented so far. They were all amazing. But now we're going to move on to the panel Q&A so that we can hear from our industry professionals. So I'll start. This question surely is on everybody's minds. How have you found working in lockdown? Honestly, I'll just leave the question and feel free to answer.
I'll go if you don't mind.
Obviously,
mind
yes.
at all?
Oh, sorry.
Obviously, we're all working at home, and it is something that the company that I work for had already started to ask people to do without a pandemic, because they felt that work isn't a place that you go to. Work is a thing that you do, and you can do it anywhere. Because I work for a travel company as well, I think they really embrace this ethos of you can actually be working from anywhere in the world. It's fine as long as you're delivering. And so they were working towards building tools that we could use to work from home. So I was doing a day or two at home, but now I'm doing it all the time. It's actually a bit too much. I'm working I'm partly on furlough, so I'm doing 80% working and 20% on my day off. But the days when I am working, like I work today, and so I've been in this little box room, and I'm sure you guys are finding it the same because you are doing the same sort of things in your own homes, wherever it is that you're working from. And it's sometimes I just get sick of looking at these four walls, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I mean, and then it's just all the time spent on screen. I mean, it's great the tools are there, and, God bless them, because we wouldn't have, retained our jobs without the ability to do this. But I really am craving some other ways of interacting with people besides doing it through a screen.
Yeah, it can be really difficult at times.
Mm-hmm.
So
It
considering
requires a
these,
lot of adaptation, I think. Yeah, a lot of adaptation. It is my role specifically is to do with a lot of people interaction with a diverse client set constantly, interaction with all elements within the agency, taking a brief from the client and interpreting it and assessing work, and having small meetings, with different stakeholders several times in the day, talking to suppliers. So to start with, it came as quite a shock. The good thing is I've saved a lot of time commuting. My journey was 2.5 hours every day, to and from. So 2.5 hours saved was fantastic. It just, I think, made me more productive in the sense that you start early and you finish late and you just carry on. And that's the downside, And in terms of productivity, yes, we've all adapted. We're all getting through it. And we managed to achieve. But I think the human side, as your other speaker was saying, is crucial. I crave human interaction, absolutely can't wait to get back. But I think lockdown has taught me something, that I can be as effective at home as I am in the office. So I'll definitely go back to something like a 50-50, because I think that'll be a nice work-life balance for me going forward. So a little bit of good and a little bit of bad, a bit of both, really, has been my experience.
it has its benefits and it has its downsides, as always. But since it may be a bit of a scary climate for students, oftentimes I at least find myself very unsure what's the work climate going to be like when I get out into the world. So would you have any tips for students?
That is absolutely terrifying, because if you look at I don't want to scare everybody here, because you're all full of enthusiasm and the work has been absolutely splendid. I'd love to critique each and every one of you. There were so many positives in all the work that was submitted today. But looking at it from your point of view, it is rather a terrifying situation, in the sense that, you look at the unemployment numbers and how they're shooting up, and you look at the furlough numbers, and you just wonder that when furlough comes to an end in September, are we going to have a cliff edge? But on the other side, on the positive side, what I feel, and a lot of my clients who are overseas have also mentioned this, that in the UK, it's like tightly coiled spring, waiting to completely pop open, when lockdown finishes. I believe there's a lot of pent-up demand, and the economy will recover, after 12 months of opening up. And there will be opportunities for all of you. I absolutely am convinced of that. But it is, in the short term, it is slightly scary.
Yeah,
I would say that.
I'll agree with that. In the short term, it's going to be difficult. So You're going to have to be flexible in your thinking about work. But in the long term, I mean, the business I work for too, it's a travel business, so it's on, you know, travel's on its knees. It's been decimated by pandemic, and it was the first to suffer, and it'll be the last. They say that it'll be the last one to actually regain its ground. But the company I work for is feeling very, very positive about the future, because anytime when they've been able to open up, the demand is just swollen, and you know, it'll be about keeping up with the demand once everyone's got their vaccines, and there's a procedure for being able to travel, vaccinated or not. And they just really feel like it's going to come, the travel's just going to come back, you know, really, really strong, maybe stronger than ever, but it will take probably 18 months or so. So that's probably what you're looking at, is the next year will be slow, but it will come back. It will come back.
I think so, like, Sketch is a remote company, so you can join from anywhere in the world as long as you've got a Wi-Fi connection. And I think a lot of companies up until this point, in my experience, were very against remote working or working from home unless there was like extenuating circumstances. And just now that we've all been forced to work from home, a lot of companies are kind of adopting that remote way of working now. So actually, you might find that you have opportunities that wouldn't have even occurred to you prior to this. You might find an opportunity in New York, for example, that actually now you can join. So it could be a positive thing. I think leaving uni, there's always a kind of period of time, regardless of the kind of global circumstance, where you're out of work and you're at that stage where you're out of uni, but you're not quite working yet. So you're sort of in this weird kind of limbo. And at the time, it feels like a lifetime, but in the great scheme of things, it's not. And I think it's great that everyone will kind of be in a similar boat, really. So at least you'll have people to relate to and you can kind of support each other.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think from our perspective, I think before lockdown, my bosses would never have entertained working from home. I think because the nature of our job and the fact that we work with quite massive files, we work off a font system, all that kind of stuff. It was just, yeah, you couldn't work from home. But now, because of COVID, we've moved on to a cloud server. Everyone can log on and we can work on the same projects, interchanging, you know. So it's really opened doors, and I think the work-life balance will hopefully get a lot better. And I'm touching a lot of wood here, but our workload actually went up in lockdown. Whether that is partly because of our clients being like, you know, Tesco's and, you know, supermarkets and stuff around the world who have obviously been okay throughout this. So I think certain industries are going to suffer in the short term, but as Kristen was saying, like, things will pick up, and I think others that maybe haven't been so affected, you know, it might be okay. I think it's going to be a bit of right place, right time, I think, as it always is, to be honest. I think just the main thing is to just keep going and keep adding to your portfolios, keep doing those side projects, just keep learning, keep growing, all that kind of stuff, and you'll eventually get there. I think it's just going to be a luck thing, and don't watch the news and don't let it get you down, because I think, you know, it's not the end. It's like, you know, there are still jobs there. There's still people getting hired every day into junior roles and things like that. So and I think if you're in a digital kind of career as well, then you're laughing, really.
Well, now, whether it be in the current climate or in any other climate you may have worked at, is there anything in the general digital, the industry in general, that you feel that you would like to change personally? And if so, why?
I think
that's a big question.
Packaging, I always think of the environmental side of things. And I think because of lockdown, obviously everyone's been ordering online. So there's been a lot more kind of probably air miles and things going on. And I think we've seen the impact where everyone's had to be inside, and it's almost like humanity's been locked away for a bit, and we've seen how nature's kind of flourished while we've not been around. And for me, when clients approach us for new packaging, and especially kind of moving into e-commerce and things like that, we've always tried to encourage them to move to an eco-friendly packaging. There's often reluctance because of cost of that. So my hope, I think, is that more will be invested in the environmental kind of side of packaging design, I think, for me.
Yeah, I think the thing that comes to mind for me is quite different, and it's this culture that I've seen quite a lot in kind of digital design, where people are expected to work really late. And I was really lucky at the last job I was at, where my boss would turn around at 6:05 and say, "Excuse me, you're supposed to go home at 6. Why are you still here?" And I think, like, through lockdown, we have seen a lot of people, as I think somebody mentioned earlier, a lot of people starting earlier, working later, because you live at the office now. And so I think, like, breaking that culture of expecting people to work late and expecting people to put in more time than they're paid for is really important. And I think, especially through lockdown, a lot of people's mental health has suffered. And so I think, like, there really needs to be action to stop people from working overtime, because it doesn't make the work better. You end up doing worse work because you're tired and exhausted and stressed. And so, yeah, I think that's a really important thing that through lockdown and beyond needs to be solved.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, yeah, just more flexible working in general. So I think people work differently as well, and that needs to be embraced more. Whereas some people I work with work really well when they first get up. So they'll jump online kind of first thing. I personally kind of pick up speed a little bit later in the evening. So giving, like, different people the freedom to kind of dictate how they work, I think gets better results in the end anyway. And I think a lot of that comes down to trust.
I think one of the good things about the pandemic that's come up has been, it's really highlighted this issue of families and work, and how that affects how it affects your health and well-being, to be able to balance all those things out, and also the amount of heavy lifting that that mothers are doing. And it's just really brought all that to light in a very big way. And I would like to think that maybe our political leaders are taking a look at some of that, and maybe thinking about how they can tweak some maybe employment law, or have some kind of initiatives that address some of those issues, like, for instance, maternity leave versus paternity leave, those types of things. You're getting it to an equal playing field for mothers and fathers. But I mean, my kids are all grown up now, and I was very lucky because I have a very supportive spouse who actually was a house husband for a while. So he was quite ahead of it. And but I see other colleagues of mine who have really struggled, and it's been lovely to watch while we've been working from home, the way that children have literally come into the picture. They're there, they're not hidden away. And it's funny, some people are really, like, nervous about that, but actually it'd be nice if we could all relax, let the kids come in, maybe acknowledge them, have a chat, just in a little bit more of a, it's not this, like, hard, fast separation of your personal family life and your work life, unless, of course, that is something that is, important for you to have a hard, fast separation. I can understand that. But for a lot of people, just having that little bit of a acknowledgement, you're a parent, your child's going to show up. It's okay. Take a moment, do what you need to do. That's okay. We can have a bit of a chat later. I'll call you back later, that sort of thing. Anyway, I just think it's been an interesting moment in time for this issue, and I hope good things come out of it.
Likewise, it may be difficult right now, but surely we'll all get over it. I'm really glad you all highlighted some of them were related, but different issues. It's really wonderful to think about other things. Sometimes as a younger person, some things go over my head. It's like, oh, work market, but there's some other stuff going on. But it's International Women's Day, so this question goes without saying, but are there any women that inspire you, have inspired you to, well, in any part of your life, really?
So I want to do a little call out here for something that isn't actually a specific woman, but it's a community that I am part of called Triangirls. So like the shape, but girls on the end. And Triangirls is a community that I kind of found by accident just through knowing people in design. But basically it's a community of women and non-binary people who come together, I think once a month, and they have people from kind of all different walks of life, all different industries, mainly focused in web design and kind of the jobs around that. But yeah, once a month they have speakers and they do different kind of topics. I've been to some about confidence, some about self-care, some about definitely one about sharks. Can't remember how that related, but yeah, and it's a really lovely community of people. And before lockdown, I managed to meet in person some amazing people and make some really good friends. And they have continued their events through lockdown digitally. So if you want a nice group of women, that's a place to go to.
Is that a website that we can visit online with your Triangirls, and is it on social media?
Yeah, so if you Google Triangirls, you should get website, social media and stuff, but it's mainly a community on Slack, which I don't know how many of you will be familiar with, but Slack is kind of Discord but for work. So it's, yeah, there are like channels and things like that, but that's where most of the talking goes on. But if you follow them on Twitter and Instagram, you'll get the events as well. So yeah.
Yeah, we should definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, definitely.
Any more successful woman that inspires anyone?
There was a woman that hired me for my first job in television when I was just coming out of my grad program in New York City, way back in the day, back in the late 80s. And her name is Susanna Eaton Ryan. She was working as the the general manager of a small post-production company in not lower Manhattan, sort of central Manhattan, the Murray Hill area, if you know Manhattan at all. And she was previously, in her previous life, she had been the manager of CBGB's. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but that is a rock and roll bar in lower Manhattan, is really, really famous and launched a lot of very famous bands, launched their careers, like Blondie, for instance. But anyway, she worked there. So she had a really strong connection to the music industry, but she came out of that, decided to go get an MBA and become a serious manager. And not that she wasn't a serious manager there, but she wanted to up her game and work in the television industry. So she was running this production company. And that was my first job in television in Manhattan in the 80s, the era of greed is good. And people were really full on. And actually, a lot of our clients were not very nice people. They were pretty awful, some of them. And, a lot to handle. And she was just really great at handling these very difficult personalities. And I think I learned a lot about grace under pressure from this lady. But the other thing she did a great job of hiring young women. And mentoring them and helping them find their next step. And, you know, really, really fantastic woman. I was really, you know, I didn't really fully appreciate her until later in my life. But yeah, you know, I owe my first step to her, definitely.
She sounds like she'd have a ton of amazing
Fantastic.
stories to tell.
Yeah. Well, in terms of if I add my input here, looking back on my career, yes, I can think of some fantastic professors who taught me at undergrad and at postgrad as well, who were truly, truly remarkable. And then in the first agency that I worked with, Brown, Kenyon and Eckhart, the creative director was female, Modichandra Karlekar, a bit of a mouthful, but she was amazing in every way, such a sensitive soul and very, very, how should I say, she had a very strongly tuned antenna in the creative services industry, and she was well respected in that world as well. And since then, what I can say is that I've had a couple of clients who sit at board level. You can't talk about underachieving women because they are amazing. Two of them particularly who have been absolutely remarkable. A, to work with, and B, because I've learned a lot from them on the way they manage their teams, the way they manage their workloads, the way they manage their work-life balance and their ambition, their motivation, I could go on. But having said that, it's not always women who have reached the top who are inspiring. I have a couple of clients who are like, there's a Korean lady I know. She's like a 28 something. And she came to the country about 3 years ago. In 3 years, her English has turned remarkable. She has got married, has got fitted in a baby, and her work output is absolutely incredible. She handles as much as a team of 3 people would. And I find that inspiring as a 28-year-old to just watch the way she works. You know, I find that pretty inspirational as well. So you find a lot of these nuggets and these snippets in your professional life. I can't sort of think of just one individual. There are so many all around us and in larger numbers, I'm pleased to report these days. You know, I see a lot of high achieving women all the time.
So just to get a slightly different experience, so Vaishnavi, what about you? How's it like to be fresh in the industry in these times, and any women that inspire you?
My recent inspiration, I would say, is a graphic designer from Japan. Her name is Yuni Yoshida, if you know her. And she presents a really beautiful combination of advertising and design together. And she really inspired me to go and work with little 3D and like how she pushes her design boundaries into advertising, and it's really beautiful. And you guys should check her workout if you have time. And yeah, my recent inspiration is her work. Also, I had like some free time right now when I'm looking for some work. So I started working on some 3D softwares and other things. Also, as everybody was saying, like if you have time, just keep doing something and you'll find something new to do, and don't waste it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's important to keep yourself busy.
We'll move slightly to a different atmosphere, I think. But these questions, you may have heard like a lot of these questions, but asking from like us students, we want to know your perspective on, again, how can we solve pay gap between men and women in the creative industry?
I think everybody needs to talk about what they earn more. I think that's it. I think the only way you're going to change it is if everybody tells each other what they earn, for me.
I completely agree. This is, yeah, straight away, I was going to say just more transparency. And I think transparency from companies would obviously be like a pretty lofty ambition that they're ever going to be kind of motivated to reveal what people are earning. But I do think, yeah, being more open to talking about what you're earning so that you can you have more of a benchmark to go by. I think just everyone just has you're more likely to undersell yourself, particularly when you're kind of in that stage where you're desperate and looking for work. You're going to go in with a lower number. But knowing not only what the male counterparts in your company are earning, but women as well, and then being able to, because you never really fully know, and it can really change company to company what salary they're willing to give and what salary they're able to give. I think when you're going into kind of any new position, it's always helpful to talk to your friends who are in a similar position, go on Glassdoor and see what the kind of average is, and try and build up a picture, because it might be more than you think.
Yeah, and I think similar to the point that Katie made, companies need to say how much they'll pay. I hate this thing of job ads saying undisclosed, because most of the time what happens when it's undisclosed is you go into a job interview and they say, how much do you want? And we all know that statistic of like women will undersell themselves like by 20% or something. And like, I don't understand why they can't just set a wage for the job and say, whoever you are, we'll pay you this, or at least a range. And so I think that is something that companies need to stop doing and kind of take responsibility for deciding how much they're going to pay somebody instead of putting it on the person. Yeah,
I think it goes both ways, because I feel like if companies are able to be more transparent about it, it holds them accountable, and you can actually build up a benchmark for yourself, and you can actually learn how much you are truly worth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, being confident that you're worth that, you are worth that. I can guarantee you 100%. Every student that showed work today, stellar, you're great. You can go for the top. You can go for the top, I'm going to say dollar in your bracket. You should, you absolutely, you can nail it. But it's actually understanding what it is. And then there's, it's hard for, I don't think it's just a female thing, but it definitely affects women a lot, where they just feel like they can't ask for that top, that they're being greedy, and you just have to put that out of your head. Every impulse you have to take less, you must fight against it, and you must go in and be completely confident and ask for that market value. Go in knowing your market value, add 10%. Always add 10%, at least, if not more. And they feel more confident in you if you're valuing yourself. It's about having value for yourself, and your value in the world that we live in. It's that salary. It's that salary band. So start as high as you can and keep going for as high as you can. And when you find out other people are getting paid more than you, well, you might want to consider, what are you going to do to get yourself up to that point? Get mad about it. Other people are being paid more than you for the same job. You should be angry. Use that anger and come up with other strategies for getting yourself to that next level up, to level up. Yeah.
Yeah, I at my last job actually managed to get the guts to negotiate my pay, and it was terrifying. I was so scared going in to negotiate my pay, but I asked for, I think it was £2,000 more than they offered me, and they said, yeah, sure, here you go. So honestly, it is one of those things where if you don't ask, you don't get. And a lot of the time companies just want to save money wherever they can. But if you ask, and if you, kind of get angry, make a fuss, obviously don't go in guns blazing. But if you kind of demand the money that you are worth, then it will pay off.
I definitely agree with the don't ask, don't get scenario. I've always kind of run with that. And I've personally asked for a raise 3 times. And I've kind of like gone in, made my case. It's the most horrendous conversation you'll ever start, but it's the best one that you'll have. And it's kind of like, you got to go into it with the mindset of like, even if they say no, you're no worse off. And at least you know where you stand in their eyes. So then you can make a decision on what you want to do from that point. But I think if you feel undervalued, then you should definitely raise it. And at the end of the day, a lot of the time when you go in and you ask for more, they're going to be thinking, well, how much is it going to cost me to replace this person if I leave? So, you know, there's a little bit of kind of two ways going on about it. And, you know, my colleagues and I, we always talk about what we earn. As we know, we have reviews every 6 months. And around Christmas time is when we might get a pay rise. So it's also making sure that when you've been at a company for quite a long time, and you are sort of like moving up those kind of pay levels in terms of your experience and what, for instance, other people are getting paid in similar industry to you, just keep your ear to the ground with it, really, and yeah, just keep talking about it, I think.
My view is that pay discrimination does not necessarily have a gender bias. Absolutely not, because I can look at young men who suffer as much as young women do, which all boils down to what the other panelists have said about companies being, I hate to use the word exploitative, but they've got the bargaining chips in their hand. And if they can drive a hard bargain and get you for less, then they will do that. So obviously the advice is to know what your self-worth is, and research comes in handy. I think Glassdoor, if any of you have used it, is a fantastic resource, because you can go in there and you can assess what is the going rate for a job of a certain description. And then Glassdoor, if it's a big company, then Glassdoor gives you specific income metrics for the particular role that you're applying for, you know, in a particular company or in the industry sector. So once you're armed with that knowledge, and if you're confident about your skill set, then I think you could drive a hard bargain as well, you know. But my personal opinion is that, you know, this race discrimination, it doesn't have a gender bias. Coming back to the question is, you know, the moderator asked, is how do we solve the pay gap between men and women? And that there, I mean, I've got some really clear-cut views based on my experience and experience of other women who I've seen going through their career trajectory. And I definitely think that the elephant in the room is that we have and we suffer from what's called a motherhood penalty. Right now, I have had 3 children, you know, early on in my career, and I took time off to have. In the first instance, I took a career break. And in the second instance as well. And in the third instance, I was working on a very busy role, and I took the minimum amount of time off to have the third child. But every time I took time off and went away, I felt that, oh my God, I'm going to be so out of touch. I'm going to be so outmoded. I'm going to feel so untrained and so inadequate when I come back, that I was in a hurry, but I should get employed quickly. And everybody has their own personal experiences, I think, on this subject, but we do suffer from what I would call a motherhood penalty. And I think probably a lot of wily employers, they might even exploit that, or they might have some hidden biases which they will not put on the table when they're either hiring you or considering you for a promotion or a position on the board. Unless you're extra special, I do feel that that penalty is something that so far we've lived with. I don't know what the future is going to hold, but it exists, in my opinion, here and now.
I agree. I think it's very important to note that discrimination is not
Mm.
only, you know, doesn't only happen to women, especially when it comes to pay too. Next question would be, I
think so. Mm.
I hope we can hear an opinion from everyone from for this question. If you could change one aspect of our society through your work, what would it be?
I'll go on.
That's a very, very broad question, isn't it? Mm.
I've got one thought on that, which has followed me throughout my career, and that has to do with women in technology. And when I started my career, when Susanna Eaton Ryan hired me in Manhattan in 1989, I was in post-production, and it's in production as well, and it's a man's world. It was a man's world, totally. And there was, you know, it wasn't a problem for me. I think because I was a little bit of an anomaly. And Susanna was great because she hired other women as well. So we got some other, there was another young woman that joined the team as production coordinator, and then she became an audio assist person. And she, you know, she went into sound production eventually. But we were rare people at the time. Obviously, coming into my career in the late 80s, I came into the profession because I was really interested in computer graphics, in digital design. It wasn't known that at the time. They didn't call it that at the time. They just called it computer graphics. But I was very interested in the technology and using the tools, using the toys. But throughout the early part of my career, I was very much involved in areas where it was mostly men working. I mean, even at Sky Creative, Paul, you'll remember, you know, it was very, you know, it was, women were outnumbered, definitely. And there were some teams that women couldn't even join. You know, I'm thinking of the sports design team, for instance. But I think these male-dominated tech, like the tech industry, the Silicon Valley, I mean, it's all very male-oriented, and just breaking down those barriers and trying to get women involved in those tech areas, in technical roles, not just roles of administration or management, but, you know, doing the coding, doing the things that are actually, you know, in that industry are considered high value. So if I can do one thing in my career, it's to hire women that are interested in, might be interested in moving in that direction, and trying to get them to develop careers that are that are tech-led careers. That is definitely something that I think about a lot, especially when I'm recruiting.
I do actually agree with that. Comes to tech. Anyone else?
I don't know if it's something that I could actively help through work, but I would like to see, I think like kind of what we've been talking about really is just, I kind of hope that things will become a lot more fair. And I think, you know, you know, a lot of my job is communication, and I think that needs to open up. And I would like to think that, especially within the creative industries, with everything that's happened and how hard they've been hit, I kind of hope that everyone will sort of lift each other up a little bit more, especially people, you know, who have been studying and graduating throughout COVID and lockdown and everything else, and just opening up access as well. So there's no barriers. If you want to try something, if you want to work in a certain field, you should be able to go for it just as much as everybody else, regardless of where you've come from. And I think, you know, part of what Jackie was saying as well, about once you've gone away to have a baby and you've come back, but you're still doing the job that you were before, there's that whole like I guess just taking people on their actual merit and abilities and their attitudes towards the job, rather than how many years experience they've got written on their CV, or how many placements they've done, or how many years in the business they've had. I think it should just be a lot more kind of equaled out and just fairer, and people should be taken on their merits.
Yeah, I think people have a lot of biases, don't they? They have a lot of biases. They have preconceived notions that if you're a woman of a certain age and a certain point in your life, that they try and predict your behavior because they want to fit you into a stereotype, into a mold. rather than looking at the person, beneath that veneer. So yeah, so that's like almost like changing society so that people's attitudes are more open and they judge you for who you are based on the experience of their interaction with you. Then yeah, the world will be a much, much better place. Samantha, in the creative industries, where, say, for instance, if you're a designer and you're working sometimes in isolation, sometimes as a team, it is possible, to have a lot more flexibility with how you manage your time, the quality of your work, and all of that. And the same would apply to, say, a computer programmer or an accountant, or an engineer. But when you have people who are working within the corporate sector, in the corporate world, and you have a management kind of role where a lot more people and other elements are involved, I think the bias over there is much stronger, and people just put you in neat little slots and they just will not change their biases come what may. So that is a struggle. It is a struggle.
One thing that I would like to add is, so I'm not a Brunel University student, but there is an issue within society and mindset of most of the people who studying a undergraduate course is that, oh, I don't have a degree and I cannot work, in a sense that, oh, someone have a degree and they get more jobs. I feel like, so how to say, the mindset of people is as if degree is giving you the skill, but that's not the case. And one more thing that my uni provides is a year called Enterprise Placement Year, which if you think about towards female creative people, is that they have an opportunity to become an independent freelance company to maybe in a future, instead of, because as one of the participants mentioned, in some of the industries, men are really dominant, like they're in the power. And that the only reason that's the case is because they work themselves there and now they're using their power, and there's not many females trying to become an independent freelance company. And they don't have the opportunity to become that. Maybe Brunel can provide such an opportunity between second and third year. Some students that are interested open up their own business. Instead of 1 year in placement, they work 1 year on their own business and try to make a reputation within industry, which eventually in the future will equalize the power between men and women in most of the industries that we have.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that comes down to the whole talking about money thing. I mean, I think they should teach in school about how you buy a house and how you open a bank account and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's the same in this scenario. I think, maybe part of your university course should cover freelance rates, how you write an invoice. If you did, because not everybody wants to go into working for a company. And I think students, in my experience through lockdown, doing lots of workshops around different universities, people are way more kind of entrepreneurial now than they were when I was at uni, 100%. So yeah, I think it's just that lack of knowledge. So I think it is definitely, I think again, kind of across the board with society, I think we should talk about money more. And I think maybe women are just, they're not as confident when starting their own businesses, maybe, the risk is too high, I don't know. But I think it is kind of changing. And I think there's maybe a little bit more opportunity now with, you can start an online business and things like that. So it's a little bit cheaper maybe to go around. Yeah, I think it's wiggling that way, but I think it could still get better.
So one thing that the reason I brought this up is the person who I know who opened her own business is a year older than me in Loughborough University. And I'm a second year in Loughborough University, and I'm opening my own business. with the help and support of uni. And that's what she exactly did. And the part that she told me, because she guided me towards this, and because I was interested in business, she did say that this way you ask for what you want, not what the company wants to give you. You as a freelancer, as a woman, you can, as a female creative industry participant, you can ask for what you think your work worth, not what people want to pay you. And this way, it helps a lot of female and male to become an independent designers. Designers in society are being seen as, oh, come work for us, but it should be come work with us, not for us.
That's very
And,
interesting.
yeah.
Am I saying your name right? Zanba.
Bardia. I don't know why it didn't show the whole thing.
Maybe we'll move to the next questions, and if you have any questions at the end, it's going to be free for you to ask. The next one would maybe echo the things that we're right now moving towards too. Do you think there is a level playing field with equal opportunities for women in the workplace now? And if not, where is the imbalance and what's causing it?
I think there's just so many things causing it. I think there really is an unconscious bias that even once you get into a workplace, there's so many kind of subtle things that even as a woman don't really occur to you until you really stop and think about it. So I've had experiences where I've kind of observed that men in the team or the company seem to kind of get away with doing a lot less, whereas the women are kind of automatically in this mode of just trying so hard to prove themselves. But you don't realize that you're just working how you feel you should work. It's not until you kind of question why you're doing so much more that you realize that that could be why. So I think just naturally you do go in on an unlevel playing field.
Yeah, and I think another thing is that I have noticed at places I've worked is that people generally like people similar to them, right? And we still have the majority of leadership being white men, and therefore definitely unconsciously, but they do feel more inclined to hire other white men, which, yeah, that is one of those things that I think until leadership becomes more diverse, the team itself will struggle to become diverse. And so that is kind of like a chicken and egg thing of how do we get people into leadership if people aren't being hired in the first place? And so, yeah, it is really tough.
Yeah, I agree, Rachel. I think I have experienced, and I've seen this with some of my other professional women who are greatly admired. They're so talented. There is a glass ceiling, absolute glass ceiling. You can't see it. You're never made aware of it. And, the management, if it's all male, white male, then, yeah, you're right. They want their own. And I've seen umpteen evidence of that, not in lots of different organizations where this happens. And then obviously you're told that, oh, you're so good, you're invaluable, every appraisal and assessment, you just come out with flying colors, but then nothing happens. So no follow-up. So absolutely, there is a glass ceiling, and the way to smash through it is to be, incredibly good. That is the only way. For a few women, I think, to smash through. Once they do that, and then we can probably try and address the imbalance. But as a parent now, it's there, it exists, and it's really hard to break through it. That's my view.
So it might be weird for me talking about this, but I brought up in a country where I saw how my mother was humiliated by the empowerment of men in society.
Sorry,
Zanba,
I think we'll keep questions till the end, please.
Yep. I was just about to mention that. So we have a few more questions to go through, and after it's going to be open to the floor. So very curious with Vaishnavi being fresh in the industry, do you think there's any imbalance? What and where is it?
I would say I always I worked for like 2 companies till now, and I always had a female boss, and I think they played a really good role. Like I don't have much experience about that. Like if there is imbalance, I have not seen it when I have worked on in my experience, and I have like even but yeah, the thing that in the interviews when they ask for the money thing, like how much you want and all, there's something that holds you back, and that is the only thing I have found in my, and I think that is something we have to break ourselves and come up with, like we have to have a proper research before we go into the interview or something. And yeah, speaking on imbalance, I have not seen in my experience, like which I have worked in 2 companies. I might be lucky, like they were really good with that thing, particularly. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, very nice to hear that. This one, there's a little bit about leadership mentioned just now. So the majority of design graduates are women, but only 11% of design business leaders are women. How can we increase the number of women in leadership positions in the creative industries?
I think that obviously there's a kind of common theme that keeps coming up, but I think flexible working kind of helps a lot here. I think that, yeah, more companies going remote means that more people can work around their lifestyles a little bit more. And whilst that, yeah, I think the natural kind of assumption there is childcare, but I don't just think it's that. I think being able to kind of work more flexibly means that people from different backgrounds and different circumstances as well can kind of dictate their work life around more things and create more opportunities there. So yeah, I think that could be a positive step.
There is pressure. There is currently a lot of pressure on companies to take inclusion very seriously. And you will see, you should, I am hoping, early in your working life, you start to see changes happening, because some companies will embrace it and they will find that diversity actually makes them more profitable. There's obvious reasons for this, because you'll get a variety of mindsets mean that you're better at being able to talk to all of your customers and not just a few of them, and that will have an effect on the balance sheet, definitely. Those types of, that might be what it takes. It's showing that diversity isn't just the right thing to do for society, but it actually is good for business. It's good for business in so many different ways. And there'll be companies where they will do doing diversity training will be a tick box exercise, and it will not be considered very seriously. But those companies will start to lag, because more diverse workforces in those companies that have taken it seriously will come, that they'll be, touted as being, that's the place you want to work. They're going to get the talent. I'm hoping that this is the way it goes. I certainly have seen that in the company that I work at, where when I first joined, it was Thompson Holidays. And Thompson Holidays was run by a very clearly defined set of directors, these men who worked together for decades, and they were pals, and they ran the company, and they did it brilliantly. But there wasn't a lot of room at the top for women. When we moved into, when we merged with TUI and became a wider pan-European company, things began to change quite quickly, because the guy that was the CEO of TUI had a very different vision for the company. It was one that was more about flexible working. The flexible working came from him, because he was a dad and he saw the benefit in his life, and he asked for it and he got it. He's like, well, everyone should work this way. I know that the company I work at now has a lot more women in those directorship roles. Whereas when I joined only 5 years ago, there was one, and now there's actually, you know, a good percentage. I would say there's probably, okay, it's not 50-50 yet, but it's probably more like 30% female. And in a 5-year period, I think that's pretty good. And I think you'll start to see this happening. But look for those companies that have a reputation for you know, embracing diversity. That's what you want to look for. You want to be working in a place like that.
I think as well as like bigger companies kind of going for more diversity because it's good for business, I think there's an opportunity there for smaller businesses, because when companies want to go for that disruptive market, then there's an opportunity to hire smaller companies who are more diverse and may have been created by women, and then yeah, they've got more opportunity to be hired then by the bigger companies or whoever it is.
Yeah, and I think some of the points that we covered when talking about pay, the kind of whole thing of women learning to be demanding and ask for that pay rise, ask for that promotion, and kind of, yeah, shout and make a big deal about themselves like men always do, and kind of giving women that confidence to be as ballsy and kind of, yeah, confident in their own work. And I think the more that women learn to do that, the more that the men in power will be forced to think, oh, maybe I need to promote this woman. Maybe I should hire a, you know, woman to be on the leadership team. And yeah, I think kind of the more people make a fuss about it, the kind of quicker it will become a thing.
I think that's it, isn't it, as well? It's not just the it's almost like not just the girls kicking off about it, it's like we need the boys to kick off about it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, encouraging men to advocate for their female colleagues and their female friends, and that thing of like, oh, we're in a company, somebody's going to get a promotion. It's that thing of a man saying, actually, I'm going to not go for this promotion, but I'm going to advocate for my colleague who's female. And it's kind of about, men hyping the girls up as well as the girls hyping themselves up.
Yeah, so we're not just like a tick box. We are actually there because we deserve to be there and because we're the best person for the job, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to know we have like men in this room. It's very important to have them here. And again, thank you for being here. One last question before we move on with the audience Q&As. It would be, this is something that Jenny Thielen said. She's an art director. Quote unquote tokenism. You are not a female designer or a creative, you are a designer, and something along the lines of that. But she also mentioned if someone invites you to the stage as a female designer and you have an audience, take it and own it. That's what she said. Anyone wants to add up to that?
Well, what I'd say is give it a really big tick, give that quote a really big tick, because we can't deny who we are, you know, we are who we are. So it's the best thing is to make the most of it and not to kind of try and hide it away, your femininity or your gender or whatever you call it. And I think change is coming. It's around the corner. We will prevail, you know, as society opens up. So will career opportunities for all of us. I'm convinced it's on the cards and will happen.
I think stick to your values, and if something really didn't sit right with you, then don't take that opportunity, because you want to live by your values. Equally, I think take as many opportunities like this as you possibly can get, and then till you get to a point where you can start turning them down. If the opportunity is there, then absolutely make it yours.
Any other thing you want to add to the previous question about being called a female designer? Though we are a woman. If you were a woman, well, you are a woman. But yep. If
Yeah, I
so,
kind of agree with Katie, really. It's just, yeah, depends what the context is. If you are you're a female because you're there to be the female, then that's slightly wrong. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I kind of agree with exactly what Katie said on it, really. As long as it sits okay with you, then fine. But yeah.
Maybe we should start introducing men designers. We have a really fabulous man designer here. That would maybe shake people up a little bit. A male designer. It's a male designer. Yeah.
if we came to like be in that position, what can we do? We obviously have to speak up. Anyway, like what should we do if we're the token there?
I think it's entirely dependent on the situation. I think if you take this exact situation as an example, if you wanted to take the opportunity, you could say to whoever's holding the event, hey, yeah, I'd love to do this. Could you mind taking the female out of the title?
Yeah, or I think if in a slightly different example, if you were asked to do a panel and say there were 6 people, 5 men and you, I think kind of making a fuss about it, and like if you still want to take the opportunity, then take it, but like questioning the people running it, just even bringing it to their attention sometimes is all that's needed, because I think the thing about a lot of the biases that are still around is that they are unconscious, and so kind of saying to whoever invited you, like, oh hey, how come I'm the only woman that you've asked, how come there's nobody else there, and yeah, making them aware of their decisions so they can go, yes, maybe we need to make an effort to be more diverse.
Doing that is also a really good test to see their reaction, because if their reaction is negative, defensive, walk away.
It looks like if no one wants to add up to that, it looks like we've covered all of it today. Thank you for answering them. Thank you for being here again. We'll now open up the questions to the audience. If you have any questions, do unmute yourself. I'm pretty sure we have a lot of interesting ones coming up.
Feel free to also type them in the chat if you don't want to mute yourself. Either Nelly or I will read it. So if you have anything to ask to the panelists, now's your time, or any comment really. Just feel free.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
By the way, I just want to say, like, I learned a lot today from everyone. Definitely learned a lot. Like, it was really inspiring to hear everyone's opinions and matters. I have a question. What achievements do you strive to accomplish as a woman, but also as a designer?
I think for me, it's just loving my job. Success to me is making my hobby my job. So I think as long as I enjoy what I'm doing, then I'm successful.
Yeah, and I think a goal as being female is wanting to be that person that other people look up to. Like we all spoke about people that inspire us earlier, and being that person that can inspire other people, I think, is something that is both really fulfilling as an individual and benefits other people. So yeah, I think that's something that I kind of would really like to do, which is why I take opportunities like this. So yeah.
So we have thank you. We have a question here that came a while ago in the chat, although it was somewhat covered. So when women are too modest in interviews, how can someone make sure they let interviewers know what they're capable of?
I think that's about interview prep. So practicing before you go. If you know you have you know you're going to be uncomfortable, preparing yourself and getting there's a type of interview that is very prevalent in big companies especially, and it's called the what is it called? It's not the competencies. It's an interview where they ask you about they're going to ask you to tell a story about a time when something happened. Like, tell me about a time. I'll give you an example from my own. This is a big, I failed this one. This is John Lewis. I went to John Lewis thinking I was a John Lewis person. They asked me this question about, tell us about a time when you were told no, they weren't going to do the thing that you proposed. And I actually couldn't think of anything. And I said, well, people never say no to me. And then, of course, they were not interested in me anymore at that point because they wanted to hear about that story about the time. That's just like me blanking and then filling in. But anyway, that's how I lost my John Lewis job. But what they were looking for was a story about that. So these competency-based interviews, they'll be looking for things. So you look at the job description, pick out the things that they're looking for. They'll say, we are looking for this in a person, and then go write it up and say, I can show, maybe I can't do that exact thing, but in my life, I've done this and it meets that criteria. So look at that criteria, come up with your answers ahead of time, and then maybe even practice them with a friend. Give your friend the list and they can literally ask you that question. Tell me about a time in your life when you did this, and you can answer it back with your story. That interview prep really, really, really helps.
So we have here in the chat, although I believe Jackie has already answered also in the chat, from Nathaniel, do you think the gender imbalance in the workforce is more a result of behavioral differences between men and women, or more a result of prejudice? It's a bit of a hard-hitting one.
Bit of both. It has to be a bit of both. It's not one or the other, I don't think. You know, we make, and I'm going to say something controversial over here, we make a big hoo and a ha about women being the second sex and reading Germaine Greer and saying that we are disadvantaged, But we're also very empowered. We are advantaged in other ways. We have to discover that inner strength. And if we have self-belief in ourselves, then that can never be hidden. It will project itself out, you know, in the way you speak, the way you conduct yourself, the way you work, the way you deal with people. So if people may have prejudices, that's fine. You know, you can cut through those prejudices. That's been my experience as an individual who is not only female, obviously, but also colored, for want of a better word. And coming and working in this environment, I felt that, yeah, at a mid-senior level, you do see that there's a glass ceiling. That's been my experience. But in day-to-day, at the starting level that a lot of your designers are starting out on their careers, I don't believe they can either be a behavioral issue or an issue of prejudice. And it's up to the woman to bring out her confident self and cut through these prejudices, really. A lot of women behave, sorry to say, I've had a host of reports, people reporting into me, and a lot of them have been women. And some of them have been much more confident than the others, and they're the ones that have succeeded. And there are others who fall back on their femininity and make it more like a weakness. And those are the ones that probably, do not succeed, for want of a better word. So, yeah, because we have control on our individual selves, don't we? We don't have control on the environment. So it's a good thing to quickly judge the environment and change your approach. And if you change your approach, you will definitely get somewhere. That's what I would say, my experience.
So here another one from the chat. Question to the panelists. What is your value as a designer in one sentence?
one sentence. Everyone's processing.
It might be a bit difficult.
The thing that
That is
immediately came,
difficult.
yeah, the thing that immediately came to my mind isn't even one sentence, it's one word. Because I think this word has carried me through my whole life, and that is enthusiasm. I basically am still struggling to work out what job I want, but I feel so enthusiastic about everything that I do. I just get excited by like any kind of creative endeavor that I go on, whether that's the job that's meant for me or not. And I think that my enthusiasm has kind of carried me through, because I have thrown myself into situations that, had I been less enthusiastic, I wouldn't have jumped at. And so, yeah, that was one word that turned into multiple sentences, but enthusiasm.
Great. I think I know what I would value when it comes to a designer. I'm not a designer myself. I assess design and I place design. So the word that pops into my head is perspective. Because when you have a especially talented designer, that individual, male or female, brings a fresh new perspective to a scenario, a perspective that a lot of us, the vast majority of us, cannot see. And that is, I think, the value of a designer, to be able to force us to see a reality that he can see, which is of value. You know, and that was the same thing as an artist. It could be Picasso. He forced us to see things in a certain way. That's why he was a hugely successful, you know, artist. And similarly, a designer is in the same vein, but within a commercial setting. So the value of a designer to me is somebody who brings something very original, something very fresh, and something that I can't see. Sorry, lots of sentences. But I would say perspective.
I think I would say problem solving by storytelling. So solving some kind of problem for your client in a visual or communicative way, for me, I think.
Thank you. If that's the last, oh, we have one more. I'll just read
I
it out.
believe they're just expressions of love from all our audience. They just love the panelists so much. Wait, actually, there seems to be a question here. There's a question mark.
One from Tom. Yep, you want to read it out, Matt? What longer?
I'm trying to figure out if it's a question or a statement. Give me 1 second. I think it's a statement. It just has a question mark. But well, regardless, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you to all the panelists. Just by the sheer influx of comments in the chat, I could tell that people liked it and liked hearing all of your opinions. Thank you to everyone in the audience who joined us. I really hope you liked it. Now you seem to.
Also, thank you to the students who showed their work. That's awesome.
Oh, yes, definitely. Don't remember to check them out on social media.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Keep an eye out for more of Brunel Digital soon on our social media at Brunel Digital. And also we have our friends at Made in Brunel. They're releasing a podcast on International Women's Day, so you can see that on Instagram, on their Instagram at Made in Brunel. We wrapped it off for today. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. We won't keep you any longer. It's Friday. It's 8 p.m. You just, we all want to rest. We hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the week. And thank you so much for listening. We're still getting so many positive messages in the chat. Wow, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you to everybody.
Thanks to all the panel there for coming in. It's great to see you all, and to everybody else. So a fantastic couple of hours there. So just thought I'd say that. Brilliant. We'll be talking to you soon anyway. The net will be coming out for further. You know that's coming in. So, excellent.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.